Hello and welcome to Moxie's channel of English language, not Andrew Moxon's, but Moxie's channel of English language, video number 40, got to 40, wow, it's been a long day, yes. Okay, here we go. Could have, oh my god, could have, could have, could have, and cood-ah. Could not have, couldn't have, coodin-nhave. Very common. Cood-ah and coodin-nhave. Very common. Could can quite often be a question of practical capability, opportunity, with an explanation. Okay? So, now I'm teaching, I could have given you a more technical definition of could, okay, but I really tried to not do that. What I tried to do was give you the practical definition of could, how I actually use it. So I blocked out all the technical explanations and I actually thought, well, what am I doing here? And that can quite often be a question of practical capability / opportunity with an explanation. Okay? So, I could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so I decided against it. Here's the other one. I could not have done that today when I made my original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so I decided to do it after lunch. Now, all this text is in the drop-down section of the YouTube channel. Okay? Okay. Could have, coulda. Right. So, I could have done that today. I could have. But the weather this morning was awful, so I decided against it. So, I could have done it even though it may have been raining, even though it could rain, and I could have done that, but it would have made my job very hard. So it's not a question of morality here or anything. I made a decision not to do it. Okay? I made a decision not to do it based on something. And I've explained to you what that was. I could not have done that today when I made my original plans. But the weather changed for the better, so I decided to do it after lunch. So, just say, for example, the weather was awful in the morning, but then it changed. So I decided, I could do it now. You see, it's not like would, and it's not like should. With would, you wouldn't say it. You just say, oh, I changed my mind. I would have done that, but I changed my mind. Could, I'm saying, I could have done that, and I'm explaining to you why. Right? And it's there could be some very good reasons. But I could also say, I could have done that, but I did not feel like it, so I did not do it. But in that instance, I would say should. I should have done that, but just like the last video tells you. But with could, there was probably no question of morality, but practical capability and opportunity. So I had the practical capability to do that job, but the rain would have made it very, very hard for me. So I did not have a good opportunity. It's a combination. Let's do some training. Oh, sorry. I could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so I decided against it. Against it. I could not have done that. I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that today when I made my original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so I decided to do it after lunch. Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad. It took me a long time to write would, should and could. It took me a long time to write it. But I'm glad I did do a proper job, because if you do not understand these things, you're in trouble. You will. You will at Moxie's channel. I had a Chinese person explain to me some concepts of the Chinese language, and they are very different. So I do respect people that speak Asian languages and are trying to learn this. It's more conceptual. It's not, it's a knack, K-N-A-C-K, a knack. And you have to learn the knack. And you learn the knack by watching me and speaking with me, but watching me act out these things. So I could have done that today, but the weather was awful, so I decided against it. I could not have done that today when I made my original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so I decided to do it anyway. So I decided to do it after lunch. Sorry, very long sentence here. I could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so I decided against it. I couldn't have done that today when I made my original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so I decided to do it after lunch. Now, I could have done that today, but the weather was awful, so I decided against it. I couldn't have done that today when I made my original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so I decided to do it after lunch. Now, this is why I like the training, because it gives you some realistic sentences to train on. You can hear me speaking the whole sentence. And basically, we say that a lot of the times for other things too. Actually, these sentences are very common, but you will not hear them very often with all the people. We do not do tenses here, okay? Okay, you could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so you decided against it. So I want to tell you something else. When you're training with me, one of the one problems that I find that people have, particularly Asian people, is the fact that they don't put this extra U in there. See, I'm trying to get you used to it. I'm trying to train you and get you used to using two U's. So, you could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so you decided against it. There's two. You could not have done that today when you made your original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so you decided to do it after lunch. There's three of them there. You could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so you decided against it. You couldn't have done that today when you made your original plans. That's two. But the weather changed for the better, so you decided to do it after lunch. That's three. And it's a knack. Okay? You could have done that today. You could have done that today, but the weather was awful, so you decided against it. You couldn't have done that today when you made your original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so you decided to do it after lunch. Oh, that's it, isn't it? So, I had that on the wrong one. Sorry. Oh, God, it's terrible. Sorry. That should have been there for the last one. I think you know, anyway. Very sorry. This is real life at Moxie's channel of English language. What I could do is re-record the whole video, but who cares? Anyway. He could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so he decided against it. Now, she could not have done that today when she made her original plans. But the weather changed for the better, so she decided So she decided to do it after lunch. I'll say it again. She could not have done that today when she made her original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so she decided to do it after lunch. He could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so he decided against it. She couldn't have done that today when she made her original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so she decided to do it after lunch. He could have done that today, but the weather was awful, so he decided against it. He couldn't have done that today when he made his original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so he decided to do it after lunch. 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 So we decided to. So he decided to. So he decided to. We could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so we decided against it. We could not have done that today when we made our original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so we decided to do it after lunch. We could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so we decided against it. We couldn't have done that today when we made our original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so we decided to do it after lunch. We could have done that today. We could have done that today, but the weather was awful, so we decided against it. I'm beginning to lose my mind here. We couldn't have done that today when we made our original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so we decided to do it anyway. Do it anyway. It's better if you burp. No, that's terrible. They could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so they decided against it. They could not have done that today when they made their original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so they decided to do it after lunch. They could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so they decided against it. They couldn't have done that today when they made their original plans, but the weather changed for the better and they decided to do it after lunch. I hope that was right. They could have done that today, but the weather this morning was awful, so they decided against it. They couldn't have done that today when they made their original plans, but the weather changed for the better, so they decided to do it after lunch. That's a good one. Okay. Boy, that was tough. 12:43, I've got a few minutes. If you'd like to contribute to my channel, you can at my PayPal account, moxiecell@gmail.com. Now, don't feel obliged. I know quite a few of you just don't have it, so don't give it. You're all important to me. I don't care if you contribute or not. If you have got the money, just a few dollars or just anything would be good. Every dollar helps. It could help me do this full time. Now, you can contribute to the Moxie Global Conversation at the Google Plus site of the Moxie's channel of English language. It's linked to this thing. As you can see, it very much looks like Facebook. It's a competition to Facebook, Google's competition. Well, remember, 5 times. I forgot to say this. 5 times. I have not said it in the last few videos because it's been a very long day. I've got 1 minute and 15 seconds to say this in. 5 times. First few times you really crap at it. 3rd time, well, you're getting okay. 4th and 5th time goes into the subconscious. Not guaranteed for everybody, and not everything goes into the subconscious, but quite a bit does. Not guaranteed for everyone. See you in the next video.